Welcome back, everybody, to the Podecito podcast. I am your host, The Real 469. Thank you for joining me here as we journey episode by episode through our collective favorite show. Of course, I'm talking about the incomparable Las Vegas. This is episode 11 of season 2. We have gotten that far in the series. This episode is a bit of a controversial episode, and we'll get into that almost in a second. It aired December 6, 2004. It's got an IMDb rating of 7.4 out of 10. It's got a Las Vegas the series rating. Las Vegas the series, by the way, can be accessed via the Wayback Machine. Go and support the Wayback Machine if you can. They are doing the Lord's work. The Las Vegas the series rating is 2 out of 5 chips. 2 out of 5. 2 out of 5 chips, giving it an aggregate rating of 5.7 out of 10 between the two of them, which is an F. It's an F rating because Las Vegas the series, as opposed to, and Las Vegas the series, I almost for a second thought going in the Wayback Machine that something was up with the ratings, that, because they were always, 4, 4.5, 4, 4.5. I think one was a 5 that we talked about before. I think that was probably Always Faithful. But 2 out of 5, I thought that was a mistake. But no, it's 2 out of 5 in every capture I can find for this episode. 2 out of 5. The fans didn't like this episode. That's what I meant when I said that this was a controversial episode. The fans didn't like it, and I understand why. This episode has problems. This episode has some, specifically the Sam portion. The Sam part of this episode is flawed. It is super flawed. It is super duper flawed. Now, mind you, the rest of the episode is fine as far as I'm concerned. I think particularly Mike has a pretty good turn here. James Lejour does some pretty good acting. It's a pretty good rom-com type vibe that he's giving off in this episode and his character has. But the Sam portion, oof, the Sam portion is bad. The Sam portion is bad in this episode. This episode is, the title of it, My Beautiful Launderette, is a riff off of the British film My Beautiful Laundrette, without the E in the middle, from 1985, changing from a laundromat to a money launderer. Get it? Because that's Sam's gimmick here, is that she's involved in a money laundering scheme. It's not great. It ain't great. This was directed by Peter O'Fallon, who has directed before and will direct again. Vanessa Reeson was the writer of this particular episode. Let's get into it. We start by whooshing down the strip, and then we see a neon cowboy turn into a real cowboy. This cowboy is named Cody Barnes, as we will hear from two of our queens here. Cody Barnes is played by Michael Lowry, not to be confused with
Mike Lowry. No, easy. Mike Lowry.
No, right. No, not Mike Lowry. No, Michael Lowry. Michael Lowry's got, and apparently he's fairly big news because on the DVD they make mention that he's the guest, like he's a special guest star, but almost not a special guest star, but just a prominent guest star in this one. Mike's career started in '91, where he played Hess's guard in a video called Puppet Master 3: Toulon's Revenge. Yada, yada, yada. He does a couple other things, including an episode of Married with Children. He does 210 episodes of... That's right, All My Children. He is Jake Martin on All My Children. Say hi to Josh Forrest from 96 to 2001. 5 years, one an episode every week. That's about, it sounds give or take about right, depending on when he joined in 96 and when he left in 2001. Fast forward a couple years, he gets this episode as Cody Barnes because, of course, Las Vegas loves its soap stars. And he continues on the soap train. He is in As the World Turns for 39 episodes as Les Sweeney. He then takes a role on... That's right, The Bold and the Beautiful as Dr. Hillman for 6 episodes. Say hi to our queen, Sam. Say hi to the cast member for us. He goes on to do 48 episodes of One Life to Live as Ross Rayburn for about a year. He then goes on to he does the circuit. He does Days of Our Lives as Dr. Clay Snyder for 16 episodes in 2021. The most recent thing that's been released that you can see him in is Pain Hustlers in 2023 as Neil's lawyer alongside Chris Evans and Emily Blunt. He's got a couple things in post-production right now. That is Michael Lowry as Cody Barnes, and we get a bit of a rundown of Cody Barnes here from Mary and Delinda, who Delinda is very impressed with the cowboy here. She says,
I never had me a real-life cowboy before. Really?
I'm a little bit with Mary on this one. I'm slightly surprised Delinda's never had a cowboy. But there it is. Also, that's the last we're seeing of Mary in this episode. She's gone. She's not in this episode. That's it. Say hi and bye to Mary. Wow, this seems very reminiscent of early season 1, this episode. Isn't it interesting how a lack of Mary can lead to... I'm not saying it leads to a poor episode. I'm just saying the coincidences are striking. I also have to say, for this particular scene, we get our first musical cue. Now, if you're watching on the original version, you have the original version? No, I don't have the original version. But if you have the original version, the music that you'll hear is Save a Horse, parentheses, Ride a Cowboy by Big and Rich. I love that song. I've done that karaoke many, many times. Save a horse, ride a cowboy. If you're watching on the DVD, the song is Trouble in Texas as heard on What About Brian? Forget Brian. I don't care about Brian. It's Trouble in Texas as heard on Las Vegas, damn it. But the official listing is Trouble in Texas as heard on What About Brian by Tim Boppert. B-O or B-U, I think it's a U. B-U-P-P-E-R-T, Tim Boppert. If you're watching on the streaming services, the song is Itchin' for a Ride. Itchin' without the G and with an apostrophe, I-T-C-H-I-N, apostrophe for a ride, by Sync Stories, S-Y-N-C, Stories, all one word. All the songs are fine. Nothing is particularly off about it. One thing that is off, though, is that they use Big and Rich songs, and they use Big and Rich songs. There's another Big and Rich song, at least. I think there's 2, but I think for sure there's one more that they use in this episode. But we don't get Big and Rich. And Big and Rich are on the soundtrack. Cowboy Troy, their close associated act, is on the soundtrack, but we don't get to see them here in this episode, and it's a little weird as far as to me. Like, why would you license the songs? And it's almost like they did for Brooks and Dunn, right? You license the Brooks and Dunn song because Brooks and Dunn's on it. You license Michael Bublé because Michael Bublé's on it, right? Why wouldn't you get Brooks and Dunn on it if you got their song? If you got multiple, it's not just one of their songs, you got multiple of their songs. It's not like they just did Country Collective and did a couple different country songs because Cody Barnes is here for the rodeo. No, they just don't bring them in. Also, this would be a great opportunity to bring Brooks and Dunn back. Remember I was talking about how much I love Brooks and Dunn on Hellraisers and Heartbreakers? The next year, perfect, almost a year to the date in the season. Almost, the anniversary date, because I think Hellraisers and Heartbreakers was episode 12. This is episode 11. It would have been perfect. Anniversary, Brooks and Dunn bringing them back. But lost opportunity after lost opportunity aside, we go over to the Kings, who are watching Cody Barnes get flanked by many, many adoring fans. And Danny is a little bit jealous. Mike is wistful. He's not necessarily thinking about getting the quantity of women, but more of the quality. And you hear Danny say,
Quantity? Is 0 a quantity?
Listen, Danny, I know Mike isn't quite you, but, he's a handsome man, and he's in his position now where he's not necessarily thinking about just the next score. He's thinking about the one at this particular point. And, Danny is still playing, he's still playing whatever, trying to nudge him along as a guy would, as your best friend would. And then we see a woman that just takes Mike's breath completely away. As we do, we hear the song 10 Gallon Girls by Heinz Kessling Orchestra. Heinz like the ketchup, Klessling, not Kessling, Klessling, K-L-E-S-S-L-I-N-G Orchestra on all incarnations of this episode. And we are introduced to we don't know her name yet, but the lovely Angie Stone. The actress is Ivana Milicevic. Ivana started her career in an uncredited role in Children of the Corn 3. They're again with the third installment as Urban Harvest Eli's follower/acolyte in 1995. She got her first credited role in Jerry Maguire the year later as a former girlfriend She then goes on to an episode of Seinfeld as Patty, which you probably saw her in because everybody has seen Seinfeld at least once. Fast forward to the mind of the married man as Missy for 20 episodes. That was her first like steady gig that she got. I don't even remember that show. She was in Charmed as Mist for 2 episodes. Fast forward to this. Did I say Angie Stone? Angie Logan is her character's name. Excuse me, Angie Logan. Angie Stone is a singer. Angie Logan in Las Vegas for this particular episode, and only this episode, which is tragic, and we'll get into why it's tragic as the episode continues. She was in a Bond Girl, is Casino Royale, as Valenka in 2006, which, come on, of course she was a Bond Girl. Look at her. Look at her. She then stars as Ivanka for 2 episodes alongside former guest star Lindsay Price and wife of recurring actor Jerry O'Connell, Rebecca Romaine in Eastwick. Yada yada yada. Is that triggered by when I say yada yada yada? I don't know. Yada yada yada. Maybe it's because of the Seinfeld thing. I'm saying the yada yada yadas a lot. I should probably. Well, okay. One more. Yada yada yada. She does an episode of Hawaii Five-0, the Scotty Conn version. Yes, she does. Where she plays Natalie Reid / Nadia Lukovic. I'm guessing that she's playing either a dual role or a fake role in that. Natalie Reid's probably not. There's a lot of Ivankas here, because fast forward a couple years after that, she plays Miss Ivana in an episode of Psych, which is a show that I love. She then abandons Las Vegas. She then turns her back on us here in the Las Vegas community. I know she turned coach. She goes to the other side when she guest stars for 2 episodes in Vegas. In 2012 as Diane Desmond. Good for her for getting the check, but for her actually having to do that particular one. Fast forward a couple more years, she plays Maria Kyle for 3 episodes in Gotham. I'm guessing that's Selena Kyle's mom. And the latest thing you can see her in is Sherlock and Daughter as Marjorie Anderson for 6 episodes that just came out this year. She's got her backstory is pretty interesting. She had a younger brother named Philippe, who was an abstract artist here in the U.S., who unfortunately passed away in 2016 of a heart attack. Graduated high school early to pursue acting and modeling. I've said it before, and I'll say it again to anybody who's young. If I could go back, because I wanted the stupid Saved by the Bell high school experience, and all 4 years, you don't need to do that. That's all fugazi. If I were smarter, I'd have graduated. I could have. I had the credits to graduate early. I had give or take enough credits to graduate early, but I didn't. I should have, because my best friend was a year older than me. So I was still in the class with kids that I was cool with, but not you know what I mean? They weren't friends of mine. I should have ditched early. I should have graduated early and moved on. She was very smart in doing that. She's from Bosnia, actually, and she moved here to the United States when she was 5. And you could hear her accent, and I guess that's why she's playing all these Russian characters, Eastern European vaguely Eastern European characters. In her bio, you could hear it in her accent in a scene in particular, particularly the scene with her and Mike, where she's about to go to the pool. So you can hear it there. She was a stand-up comedian though, where she talked a lot about her modeling career as a stand-up. I would love to find her footage. I'd love to see how she is as a stand-up. That's either going to be terrific or tragic. She's the older sister of the guitarist for 30 Seconds to Mars, Tomo Milicevic. There you go. So yeah. That is Ivana, and you could see why Mike is just taken by her here. Just look at this freaking scene. She's fine. And Danny is not exactly fazed by our girl here. He says she's all right, but just imagine being the mechanical bull for a second. Hold on, just all right? Danny? No, Mike is right. Mike is correct on this aspect that Angie is ridiculously fine. And Angie's ridiculously fine. And listen, Danny's taste, with how he doesn't just hold Mary on the altar that she probably deserves to be on. You know what I mean? Just take that into account. But she's fine. She is gorgeous here, and Mike is rightfully taken aback by it. Now he just has to figure out exactly what he's gonna do. So Sam comes into Ed's office, and this is where the episode takes a turn. Their exchange, Sam comes in and asks if she's in trouble. Ed kind of intimates that she is, and that it should have taken a different turn, but it doesn't. So Ed tells her that her gaming revenue from her clients has been down over 12% last quarter. Sam, tries to defend herself, saying that, she's trying to figure it out. Ed says her numbers have to come up. Sam says that...
Ed, what I do is not a sprint, it is a marathon, and along the course there are peaks and there are valleys.
I understand peaks and valleys. We're getting too many valleys. I need some peaks. The numbers have to come up.
Listen, every other casino on the strip seems to want me, so if you're unhappy with my work, I wish you'd just be big enough to say
that it would
I'm
be different
unhappy.
anywhere else?
I don't know.
Well, I know.
And they start this argument seemingly out of nowhere. Like, this is bad. Off the top, this is bad management from Ed. This is terrible management from Ed. Like, he didn't take anything in that Sam was saying. He didn't listen to her. He didn't try to work with her. He didn't try to see her vision of anything. This is terrible management from Ed. And it immediately breaks down into an argument that shouldn't be. And it seems very harsh and very rushed. And this is the overarching theme with Sam's portion of this episode. Everything Sam does in this episode, or every part of Sam's trajectory in this episode, seems out of character for Sam. It seems rushed. It seems like a lot of the things aren't earned. Like, this argument with Sam and Ed isn't earned. There hasn't been backstory. Ed hasn't been thinking about it. There haven't been comments about it made. There's nothing. This is wildly unearned and forced and fast because it has to fit in. First off, because this particular scene has to fit in before the intro. And then all of Sam's stuff seems to have to fit in to the rest of the episode with the rest of the characters. Everybody else's character arcs are fleshed out and fine and full. But it almost seems like those character arcs they thought couldn't fill the full 44 minutes. Meanwhile, they had this story for Sam, which also couldn't fill a full 44 minutes episode. But rather than extend either the two other plots into being able to fit the full episode, or having this one fleshed out a little bit more and ditching one of the other plot elements, honestly, in my opinion, they could have ditched the horse part and fleshed out the Sam portion. Other than doing that, they crammed it in. They overloaded the washer. They stuffed in too much into this space of 44-minute network television. The Sam stuff could be fleshed out into a full episode. Really, the episode could be all Sam if they wanted to. And I think later on we would get episodes where we really only follow one A plot. There's no real B plot. Like, it's really mostly like 99% an A plot. And I think that realistically, those are later seasons, like season 4, I think, does a lot of that. And I think that's part of the reason why I have issues with season 4. Part of it is also because of which A plot they decide to focus on. But for a show that I've tracked so far and seen that they are, even if he's not explicit about it, GST, who...
He's the puppet master!
Is the puppet master, that is right, is so in love with this Sam character. Why he didn't either ditch another plot so that the Sam character, the Sam plot here could be more fleshed out, could make more sense, could fit more, or, you know what I mean? Why he didn't do that, or give it its own episode. right? Why that couldn't have happened or waited for this until next season or something, you know what I mean? Why this one had to fit like this is a detriment to this. That's why it gets 2 out of 5 stars, because it's a detriment to it. There's something wrong with the production process, with the creative process here that brought us this Sam plot. So, in any event, things get very heated. Sam talks about leaving the Montecito, going to a different one off the strip.
If you don't believe me, just try one of those other places, see for yourself.
Maybe I will.
Well, maybe you should.
Fine.
And then we go to the intro. Listen. The usual rhetoric here. You're watching this intro on a streaming service. A lot of these streaming services will ask you if you want to skip the intro. One is a little bit more formal. I think it's Roku's more formal and asks you if you want to skip the introduction. You can, if you want to, skip that streaming service. You talking about skip this intro? This is the best damn intro in the business. Don't skip this intro. Best one in the biz. As we come out of the intro, we see somebody riding the mechanical bull and getting tossed off. As we do, we hear our second musical cue of the episode. This is another Big and Rich song. Kick My Ass by Big and Rich is on the original version. On the DVD version, you hear a production song. And on the streaming versions, you hear a song called All Dressed Up for Nothing. Again, no G, apostrophe at the end. Again, by Sync Stories. So that's the second Big and Rich song that we hear. Sam and Nessa talk about Sam's problems. You see Sam, both of them in amazing outfits. Of course, why wouldn't they? Nessa's trying to cheer her up and say that maybe her next big well will help bring up her percentages. And Sam runs down that the next guy is called Alex Brooks, and he limits his losses to $20,000, only comes out 4 times a year. Basically not her biggest or most important client, because he puts a rein on it. He actually gambles smart. Oh, you suck. I hate it. Oh, Sam hates it when somebody actually, isn't ridiculous with their money. He gambles what he can lose and stops at a certain point. Sorry, Sam. Anyway, we might as well talk about Alex Brooks. He's a big portion of this episode. So Alex is played by Paul Adelstein, which is the name that you see during these credits as Sam is talking about what he limits his losses to. His first credited role was as Sailor Young Paul in The Grifters alongside Angelica Houston, Annette Bening, and John Cusack. He then co-stars for 10 episodes alongside Jeremy Piven and Paula Marshall in Cupid. We talked about that before. He did ER. This seems to come up. 2 episodes of that. He then co-stars alongside Clancy Brown, Timothy Matheson, and former guest stars Lisa Ann Walter and Rowena King in Breaking News. That came up. Remember that? In 2002. And for 5 episodes, of the character he plays is Julian Curbis. Yes! Mr. Curbis. Maybe he's playing the same Julian Curbis from, which episode was that? That was, which episode was that? That was the one with the car where Danny and Mike chased the guy into the pool with the money. What was the other thing? I can't remember the other plot. But that episode from season 1, I wonder if it's the same Julian Curbis. I wonder if before he goes to the Montecito in 2003, in 2002, he's on Breaking News. Huh. Curious. Very. He then, yada, 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 does this episode. I did the yada, 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 didn't come up. Okay, good. That's not the cue. He then does this episode of Las Vegas as Alex Brooks. He then does an episode of Scrubs a couple years later as Dr. Stone, which I bring up only because Scrubs is amazing. The biggest thing you might know him from, though, is Private Practice. He did 111 episodes as Dr. Cooper Friedman on Private Practice. So if you're a Private Practice fan, you might know him from that. If you're a Prison Break fan, you might know him from that. He plays Paul Kellerman. That name sounds familiar. For 51 episodes there, as well as 31 episodes of Girlfriend's Guide to Divorce as Jake Novak. So yeah, he's you've seen him in stuff. The latest thing you can see him in that's already been released is For Worse. He's got a couple things in post-production as well. He worked as a waiter alongside Kate Walsh before they were cast in Private Practice alongside each other for 111 episodes. He was cast as Burke on Grey's Anatomy before Isaiah Washington, but had to turn it down because he was on the set of the movie Be Cool, starring The Rock. Let's see. He got the role of Leo on Scandal. It was written specifically for him. How about that? And he did 18 episodes of that. He was a guest star on Girls Guide to the Divorce, but was made a cast member, writer, and consecutive consultant. So he's a multi-talented guy, but here he's playing the most unassuming guy you could think of. Like, he doesn't, even throughout most of this episode that you see him in, he still almost seems like he's in the background. Like, he's just so unassuming and so, right, just not even affable, but just kind of, he blends in so much. So Sam meets up with our boy Alex Brooks, and he says that he's feeling pretty lucky. Sam, you can kind of see on her face that she's just kind of half half engaging with Alex Brooks here, until he mentions that he brought $1 million with him. And Sam's eyes immediately lights up. That $1 million that our Alex Brooks, our dear Mr. Brooks, brought with him, in today's money, equates to $1,698,226.97 that he has with him in his luggage. And he brought it all in cash. She wanted to extend his credit rating, but he brought it all in cash. He says that he's got a vending machine business, and that's where he gets all this money from. That sounds promising, actually, but we'll come back to that story a little bit later. He wants to start off with $100,000 to play with. That $100,000 equates to $169,822.66. Maybe you've sensed a pattern. Sam wants to put it in the safe. He doesn't. He's off to play. Let's let the dealer shuffle the deck for a second, and we'll be right back.
I assume you're interested in large amounts of money.
It's Vegas, who isn't?
If you like the podcast and you want to help support it, you can send a Cash App, join our Patreon or Subscribe Star, or buy us a coffee. Just search The Podecito on all those platforms. We then find ourselves in Belisara, where the Kings are talking over the plan for Mike to woo this beautiful woman named, that we will soon find out is named Angie. As they're talking it over, we hear the musical cue on the original and the DVD version. The song is called Your Secret's Safe With Me from Las Vegas episode 211. How about that? From Las Vegas ep 211, if you're looking it up, EP.211 in parentheses, by Joel Evans Quartet featuring Carla Helmbrecht. Helmbrecht is the music that plays in the original and the DVD version. On the streaming service, it's just some random production music. So obviously that song got copied. I was wondering, I had to figure that out. So Mike is just besought with anxiety, trying to figure it out. And Danny tells him that, listen, he's got this. Women are putty in his hands. You know why?
Because you are the man.
I am the
That's
man.
right.
I am the man.
Who are you?
That's right. I am the
Go
man.
get her.
Putty master.
As Mike is pumping himself up, he's talking to himself, and our dear girl just happens to come up to the bar behind him and hears him talking to himself and starts a conversation. Look at this.
You the man, Mike. You the man.
Another sincere, please. And you might want to cut him off. He's talking to himself.
All right. No. I was just thinking out loud. I do that. Not all the time. Sometimes, though. Sometimes I'm thinking something and just can't keep it in. Can't keep my mouth shut. Let me get this for you. I'm Mike Cannon, Montecito Surveillance and Security.
Angie Logan.
All right, so Mike, right now, after the introduction, listen, fellas, if you get in that situation, get to the intro. Stop yapping, get to the intro. She is a little charmed by this right now and takes the hand, and they start talking a little bit, and Mike hears her name and figures out that she's there for an engineering convention, And he says that he's an engineer. And she said she thought he was with security. But as he's trying to get the words out to explain his story, he's met with a former valet client of his.
Mikey, there you are.
Hey, Mr. Wilcox. It's good to see you. It's good to see you. It's been a while.
Hey, I had to park the Ferrari myself. I don't trust anyone but Mike with my Ferrari. This guy is the best valet in Vegas. Oh, hey, Mike.
Oh, that exchange does not work well for him. Yeah, she talks about the seminar she has to get to, and then burns him one last time with,
But if I have any surveillance, security, engineering, or valet needs, I'll be sure to give you a call.
oh. So here we are, classic rom-com situation, just a slight conversation could fix the whole thing immediately, but, of course not, because television is not real life. Also, real life isn't real life, though, either. It doesn't exactly happen just like that, but usually. But yeah, that's how misunderstanding. That's why we're able to connect with it, because you all have misunderstandings with people based on language, based on intent, based on their experiences versus our experiences versus, based on whatever, based on the way the wind blows. Sometimes it's just where the experiences are. We see Cody at the tables, and he's getting pulled away by a woman, his drink is pulled away, him and his chips are pulled away by a woman, and Delinda comes up to our cowboy and introduces herself to him, and she's a lot more in the know on this. First off, she's going up to Cody and getting herself, not even getting herself noticed, but straight up asking him, hey, I would like to invite you to Mystique, unless your wife has a problem with it. And he points over to Lucy, who we'll find out is Cody's manager. Let's talk about Lucy. Lucy is played by actress Karen Butler, and Karen Butler has a couple of different credits to her name. She starts off in Paddle Cruiser in 1996 as Suzanne. Fast forward, she does a couple episodes of... That's right. Say hi to Sam for her. She does a couple episodes of Beverly Hills 90210 as Gertrude, who is credited as Karen Ann Butler. Fast forward to the Las Vegas theme again. She's in the original CSI as Rita Lyford for an episode. She does this episode of Las Vegas proper. Not to mention she does an episode of Summerland. I wonder if that was actually supposed to take place in Summerland, Nevada. I have to look that up because Summerland does keep coming up. Fast forward to she does an episode of Freddy alongside former guest star Brian Austin Green for an episode as Auctioneer. She then does an episode of Lost Doctor in 2010, and the latest thing you can see her in is ADT Always There short in 2014, but she does have something in post-production called The Micro Budget Mystery as Levi. That is Karen Butler. Karen Butler plays Lucy here. Lucy will come into play a bit later on. She's more prominent than you would think at this point, but as for right now, Delinda's only worry is trying to see if Cody wants to have dinner at Mystique, and Cody says that no, that's just his manager, and Delinda asks unless you have anyone special you want to bring with you.
Anyone special? Well, other than Lucas.
Lucas. Oh, well, Lucas. Why don't you and Lucas have dinner at Mystique tonight on me? Just mention my name to the maitre d'.
He's my horse.
Your horse.
My horse.
Oh, of course he's your horse. You're a cowboy. Mm-hmm.
Listen, Delinda is handling this actually fairly well. Like, all the different turns that are being taken, she thinks that Lucas is maybe a boyfriend or a husband of Cody Barnes, which in 2004 is, not as accepted as it would be in 2024 or 2025, or not as expected either. But, she rolls with it, and good for her, because turns out Lucas is the horse, and so she's able to extend the invitation to our boy Cody to come, Cody to come to Mystique later on tonight and have dinner with her. We then transition over to see Mr. Brooks leaving the table, and it turns out he's not playing big. He's not being Mr. Millionaire. He's played two $10,000 hand and cashed in the rest. Those $10,000 hands that he's playing equates to $16,982.27 in today's money, or $33,964.54 if you combine the two hands. And keep that in mind, because in his profile, you saw that Alex Brooks only limits his losses to $20,000. So that's the amount in today's money that he limits his losses to. The Kings talk about how Mike crashed and burned as Mike re-enters surveillance, and it was... Let Mike explain it.
It was nasty, with a capital nasty.
Yeah, it was a terrible crash and burn for Mike. Danny wants him to move on to another girl, but Mike is like, there is no other girl, it's this girl. He says that
She could be a Mrs. Mike. A Mrs. Mike. Kind of girl I dream about. Kind of girl I could really settle down with, you know?
yeah, she could, listen, she could, I get it. I get it here. I get it. And so Mike is determined here. He's saying, I'm going back in. Danny is trying to coach him here. And Danny, by and large, isn't giving terrible advice to Mike. But Mike wants to go back in and take another shot. Remember, he is
Putty master.
So we're in Mystique, and here we hear production music all through each incarnation. It's the same song. And Delinda is infatuated with Cody and his explaining how he handles a pony, how he handles a horse for the rodeo. It is just dripping with all sorts of just blatant, wild innuendo that may or may not actually make sense.
First I pet him, nice and gentle. But still, I let him know who's in charge. And then when they're used to my touch, I slowly, I work my hand under the bareback rigging.
Then what do you do?
So then when I work my hand in, all the way up to my palm.
So that whole thing with the bareback rigging and the working your hand up to your paw, like, and Delinda's just enraptured by what is in her search history. if any of that makes sense to Delinda, what the hell is in her search history? Or do you want to know what's in her search? Remember when she was like, well, I guess in 2004, maybe she doesn't have much of a search history. You know what I mean? For that sort of thing, you know, it wasn't as prevalent, especially for women to have that sort of search history in 2004. But anyway.
Let's move on.
Lucy interrupts the date. She wants Cody to get back into his room and go to sleep. And Cody is enraptured with Delinda, and Lucy skulks off. And we're going to hear more from her later. Sam comes into Alex's room and just blatantly reveals what she knows about Alex basically trafficking the money. She basically tells him that she figures out with the bills, the 10,000 and the cash out, that it all makes sense for it to be trafficking, and that she's going to report it to the FBI.
I just changed my mind. Sweetie, I got that. You changed your mind. Yeah, I got that part. You know what? It's the Gaming Commission and the FBI. You know, when something suspicious happens.
The FBI.
Yeah, but everything's on the up and up,
FBI.
so you don't have anything to worry about, right? I'm going to hook you up with the Palms. See ya.
Sam. Don't call the FBI.
So Alex tells Sam that he got himself into a little bit of trouble with the Juarez cartel and that he needs to pay them back as soon as possible. And if he did it just this once, that everything would be okay. Sam is not buying any of this until Alex decides to cut her in on his profit of the business, revealing to Sam,
Keep quiet about this. I could see my way to give you 10% of everything I push through Vegas.
Ha. It's not a one-time thing. Yeah.
He offers her 10% just to look the other way. Sam negotiates for 20, and they have to do it her way. And so she starts telling him the ins and outs of what he needs to do in order to be able to better move the money around in Las Vegas or in general. And so they're going to follow her plan. We then whoosh through the desert all the way through to Laughlin, and we get this just awful B footage. Awful fuzzy B footage in Laughlin. I don't know where they couldn't actually go to Laughlin. Like, it looks like they got the B footage from some like 1992 video brochure of Laughlin or something like that. They couldn't actually go. There was nothing actually happening in Laughlin in 2003 or 4. They could have gotten actual B footage. They couldn't have spent the $65 on a ticket to send a crew to Laughlin for 2 seconds. Like, really? Okay, anyway. And Laughlin couldn't have ponied something up, but okay, fine. Okay, fine. Sam's activity is super duper tracked as soon as she gets to Laughlin. And we hear from Nick Curzone from the Flamingo in Laughlin. So Nick tips off Ed to what is going on with Sam and Alex in Laughlin. And Ed gets streamed the footage of what's going on and sees Alex Brooks and sees Sam just blatantly on the floor, just walking around almost like she owns the place. And Ed immediately calls for Danny. As we do that, we see a scene where Mike runs into our girl Angie as she's about to head down to the pool with a book to read. And in this scene, we hear production music all throughout each incarnation. It sounds almost like elevator music, but it also sounds a little bit like the theme song Just Too Close for Comfort, which is a show that actually is streaming on Peacock right now. And it is, man, the sensibility, it is conservative for the 80s, and it is, wow. Anyway, but I used to watch that show when it came on in syndication all the time. Anyway, but Mike, I keep thinking Danny because it's a corporation with the love interest, but Mike runs into Angie, and Angie immediately snaps at him with,
Jack, was it? Jack of all trades?
And in this scene specifically is where you can hear her accent really come out. Like, you can kind of tell that she has an accent or came from Eastern Europe, because Mila Kunis also has the same type of thing where once she gets into a certain rhythm or says a certain words, certain enunciations, you could hear that she's not American in certain things, but she's got a very good grasp of the English language, but you could hear she wasn't necessarily born here when she says,
Let me guess. As a valet, you have to start the car's engines, which makes you a kind of engineer. And after you park them and lock the doors, that's when the security comes in. Am I close?
She's kind of eviscerating our boy Mike here, and but doing it in a almost not flirtatious way, but not completely malicious. She's not like completely eviscerating him, right? Like she's just like, okay, like, listen, buddy, I get it. You okay, but I'm not interested. But he does win her over a little bit when he says that he's not going to tie her out easily. And she says,
Well, you'll lose energy eventually. It's a scientific fact. Energy disperses, entropy increases. It's a second law of thermodynamics.
Which, by the way, if you remember in the first part of the episode, Mike mentions he wants to settle down with a woman that he could talk about the second law of thermodynamics with. Look at this. Look at this all coming back into place for Mike here and for Angie. She is impressed, but she still gives him the cold shoulder and says that she's not interested.
I'm still not interested.
Damn.
Mike is thinking that he could win her over, and I think he could win her over too. But we're moving on here. Danny meets with a PI who followed Sam and Mr. Brooks as they went all through basically laundering money. And he tells Danny exactly where they went: the Flamingo, Mesquite. They went all a bunch of places.
After she and the guy left the Flamingo, they went to the Colorado Belle, then drove out to Mesquite, hit the Virgin River and the Oasis.
Okay, did you get a chance to follow her inside anywhere?
Everywhere. They'd be at a blackjack table playing purples, each of them with a couple of 3-inch stacks. 15 minutes later, They cashed out.
And from there, we see a profile of Alex Brooks's playing profile here in the Montecito computer. And you could see exactly what it says here on the screen. His net worth is $4.2 million, which in today's money translates to $7,132,551.61. That you get to see exactly what he likes. He likes a stock bar and fresh fruit. He likes certain sweets that they have at the Montecito, the Imperial Sweets. He likes sushi and sashimi. He likes his Cabana Reserve for the whole length of his stay. He likes premier hotspots like the nightclubs. He usually plays on blackjack with a $2,000 limit, which is $3,396.45 in today's money, or roulette with a $5,000 limit, which is $8,491.13. Now, that limit roulette is probably in 2004 one that only has 1 0 on it, so that's probably why. And it does say that he limits his losses to only $20,000 per stay, per visit, and we've talked about how much that is in today's money. And we see that he comes to the Montecito 4 times a year, just like Sam says, and even has a profile of the people in his life, his parents, his girlfriend, his friends, his bodyguard, Charles Diesel, which I don't see him with the bodyguard. I don't know if that's when he goes out to the hot spots. Maybe the Montecito presents him with a bodyguard, and that's the one that he likes, that they have on staff. And even his dog. So, and we heard about that when Sam had her Palm Pilot taken by Jonathan Tam. And so we know that she does do notes like that, and we can see it here on the computer. Danny takes a look at his profile, but is interrupted by Mike, who comes in feeling a little bit high, feeling a little bit more confidence off of his interaction with Angie, even though she said she's not interested. But there was some sparks there. There's definitely some sparks there. Danny takes off to follow up on his feelings with Angie with Alex and Sam, and probably to talk to Ed, if we're being honest. And then Mike does some recon here, and this is where things might turn a little bit for Mikey, but he does some recon here, and he takes a look at what she's reading, and he sees that he's read it as well. And so very quickly in his head, he's decided to decipher a plan where he's going to go and sit next to her at the pool. You can tell that he's already using his influence. He's got one of the Cabana boys to kick somebody out from the chair next to her, saying that it's reserved. Whether it is or it's not, who knows? And that's a thing on Mike too. I don't know if he checked it to see if that guy reserved the seat, if you can reserve it or not. But either way, he pays off the Cabana boy for the privilege. He must have had the book on him to be able to get it, unless I doubt that they would have that book in the Montecito gift shop. So he must have had it on him. I don't know if he went home to get it, coming out of a casino parking lot and having to do all that. Like, that's a lot. Who knows if she'll even still be there, but I'm guessing, let's just say it was in his car. And then he goes to sit next to Angie. Here we hear a production song again. It may not be a production song. I'm not sure. Because we hear a song, I can't track it on the original and the DVD, but on streaming services, it's a completely different song. So I don't know if it's the same product. I don't know if it's two production songs that they didn't want to get the license to it or whatever. But I could track the original production song when I was trying to get it down. So Mike ends up sitting next to her, and she looks over and sees him and looks almost a little annoyed, but he says that he's not there to talk to her, but that seat is the only available one next to her. Now, mind you, lucky for Mike that it is at the pool area is that packed. Otherwise, he couldn't even come up. He would have to completely lie. He would have to completely lie about it. But him and Angie are sitting there, and she just happens to look over, and again, she starts it when she says, "Oh, what a coincidence, you're reading the same book I'm reading." And he says,
"You're kidding." Oh. Well, actually, I'm rereading it.
Rereading it. Define dielectric constant.
Well, it's more commonly known as permittivity or specific inductive capacity. Refers to that property of a dielectric which determines the electrostatic energy stored per unit volume for unit potential gradient. Now, if you want to test me, sweetheart, You gotta throw me something a little tougher.
You really an engineer?
MIT, summa cum laude.
No way. Oh, one.
This must be fake. I'm telling you.
Now, I didn't check any of what Mike just said there. I'm going to count that technobabble as correct. But what I am going to say is that you can see Angie's face change in that scene. When she asked the question, she did it with a smirk, like, this guy doesn't know anything. And then he breaks it down to her. He breaks it down like a fraction for her. He breaks it all the way down to her, and she has no choice but to admit he might know what he's talking about. And then they start to talking, and they figure that he graduated MIT, and so does she, 3 years before, which I'm guessing puts her somewhere in the range of about 25-ish. And Mike tells her that they are meant to be, but apparently not, because all these interactions, he keeps getting interrupted. And he gets interrupted again, this time by a cell phone. He's got to be somewhere. But he manages to get a cup of coffee with his sweet Angie.
Listen, I know you're not here to date, but is having a cup of coffee a date?
1 cup of coffee.
Refills?
Don't push it. I have a break tomorrow afternoon.
Cup of Joe's, 3 o'clock?
He charmed her. Look at that. He charmed her. Mike Cannon, the coolest guy in Vegas. Mike Cannon, the coolest man in Vegas. Go get him, Mike. Go get him, Mike. 3 o'clock, you got it. Go get him, Mike. So Delinda goes to meet Lucas, the horse of Cody Barnes. He says that she doesn't have to do this. He already likes her, but that's okay. He's gonna go meet Lucas. And by the way, I'm surprised that Lucas would be in the horse trailer, in the middle of the day in Las Vegas. Now, mind you, it's November. Or December, actually. So it's probably not ridiculously hot, but the sun's still bright out there. So, I would be surprised if they're not just out walking or whatever horses do, and then, put in the trailer a little bit later. Or maybe, the trailer just got there or whatever. But they open the trailer door and there's no Lucas. Lucas is gone. And Cody is absolutely distraught, looking everywhere. Delinda...
Lucas! Billy! Billy, where's Lucas?
Delinda is just looking behind the door as if Lucas is just playing hide and seek behind the door like a little child or something. But no, Lucas is gone. As we see that Lucas is gone, we hear a song here called Hillbilly Hayride, and that again is on All Incarnations. And that is by Joe Part, Jopart. Joe Part, Hillbilly Hayride on All Incarnations. They're doing fairly well with some of the songs and keeping them on All Incarnations in this episode. But Delinda drags Cody up to see her father to try to get his assistance in helping to track down Lucas. Ed is confused by the whole situation.
Why did you want to meet his horse?
And also, what exactly does he think that the Montecito can do with trying to find Cody's horse? But Delinda breaks it down and says, we have a whole security team here. We're smart, we're faster, we're sneakier. Because remember, Delinda, she did play a security guard in The Secret Life of Bob. She was on the surveillance team with Danny in that episode, and it was a real. She got it in her blood, just like she got being in the polyphonic spree in her blood, and just like she got that she really likes this guy in her blood, and you could see her behind Cody giving Ed the daughter faces.
The microchip tracker.
Well, okay.
But they're the daughter faces, it's almost like she's asking to go on a sleepover with her best friend. It's not particularly serious for Delinda, and that's just Delinda in a nutshell at this point in the series. And so because Lucas has a microchip tracker, Ed says that he'll try to help find the horse in some way.
Why don't you take a little break?
Yeah, that's a good idea. You go stretch the legs, wash the face, refocus.
There you go.
You're listening to Navy Yards and Naylor Road by Anthony Njoku. If you like what you're hearing, you want to hear it again or hear more, just go to tinyurl.com/ANjoku. That's tinyurl.com/ANJOKU. We then cut back to Danny waiting at the elevators for Sam and sees her getting out of the elevator and immediately bombards her and confronts her with the facts that he found out about her going to Laughlin and laundering the money. So Danny tells Sam that she's been going around and playing the $10,000, the magic number.
Then the two of you go to 4 different, listen, the two of you go to 4 different casinos, at least an hour away from here, play 10 grand each, then split 10 grand. It's the magic number, Sam.
I'm aware of the magic number. Let me do my job. Excuse me.
So apparently the $10,000 is magic, which, by the way, is another number that I was notified of via my father, the former Secret Service guy. And Sam kind of breaks down under the pressure of Danny confronting her with this stuff and says, you know, does Ed know that I'm going? And she completely unveils her whole magical plan to Danny in this situation, that she's going to go undercover and that she's the first one on the scent.
Ed already knows.
Ed already knows. Well, does Ed know that I'm gaining this guy's trust? Does Ed know that I'm going undercover and I'm going to blow this thing wide open? Did you know that Alex says that he owes money to the Juarez cartel?
The Juarez cartel? Are you insane?
Yep.
A little bit here, yes. Sam, in her interactions with Ed so far, in this interaction with Danny, and later in this same interaction with Ed, and later on in this episode with other interactions with Ed, her facial expressions are very reminiscent to me of the night the lights went out in Vegas, where she is a little off kilter. And it feels like she's doing this just to try, because when she said that she's going to bring this to Ed, it feels like she's doing this to impress Ed, to get, not necessarily get Ed off her back. I'm wondering if what they're going for is that the argument with her and Ed was like her father being disapproving of her, and she's trying to earn her father's trust again by doing something dramatic, and it doesn't feel right. It's off character for Sam. It's all off. It all feels off, and it does here too. Ed immediately comes into the conversation and gets tipped off by Danny of what Sam is trying to do. Her eyes are already starting to well up at least a little bit here. The way they frame her is a little softer. I don't know if that's just the lens they use or whatever, but it's a weird situation. Ed sends Danny off to handle Cody Barnes and the horse and wants to talk to Sam directly in his office. But this whole, and her whole demeanor is off with this. Her whole sensibility is off with this. It's off. It's all off. Anyway, Sam is up in the office and she's explaining the situation to Ed, who's a lot calmer now than he was in the beginning of the episode. And he should have been this level of calm at the beginning of the episode. But anyway, Sam lays it out that she's going to help Alex with this, if for no other reason than to fish out the Juarez cartel, because you want the big fish, not the small fish. She does say here that the reason why she didn't tell Ed was because she was told that the Juarez cartel would hurt people that are close to her. She doesn't want anybody close to her being hurt. That would be the people with the Podecito, but Ed would be the first person you call for something like that, you would think. Ed says to bring in the FBI. She says call the FBI. He says he did. And then the look on her face is she is a little shocked by it. Like, it's weird. It almost feels like she's on drugs. You know what I mean? Like, she almost feels like the TV version of a character who's on drugs and doesn't want to get found. It's weird. It's just weird the way. I don't know if it's the way Vanessa's playing it. I don't know if it's the way it's written, the way it's directed, or some combination thereof. But this is just, I do hate this plot line. And I hate the way this played out. Oh, this is all just odd. I don't like any of this. But we're introduced to Agent Spires here, who's going to be following up with Sam as she goes into, or as we figure out what to do with the Juarez cartel. Agent Spires is played by John Eric Bentley. John Eric Bentley has been in a whole bunch of stuff. You've heard him in a whole bunch of stuff. The first thing he did was a TV movie called Private Sessions, where he played Maury. He does a lot of work where he plays, if he's on screen, he usually plays a cop of some kind. He played a cop on Becker. He played the commissioner on VIP for an episode. He played a police sergeant on Firefly, FBI agent here in Las Vegas, Agent Sipes. He played a doctor, Dr. Wilkins, alongside Corin Nemec in Chicago Massacre, Richard Speck, which, by the way, the only reason I bring that up is Corin Nemec played Parker Lewis, and I love Parker Lewis. He was also in The Young and the Restless for 3 episodes as Detective Calvert, of course, because Las Vegas loves its soap stars, even if they make them later on. He was the Mummy in Wizards of Waverly Place for 2 episodes. He did All My Children, credit only. He wasn't actually in the episode, but he did All My Children. He was credited in All My Children. Why not? We'll count that. He also guest starred alongside Alex Thomas, Bill Bellamy, and recurring character John Lovitz in Mr. Box Office as Special Agent Brent Hill. Now, the name is tremendous. No notes, especially because Brent actually is British for Hill. It means Hill. His name is Hill in this episode. But the Mr. Box Office was terrible. It's a whole thing with what's his name, Byron Allen, and his super cheap productions that look terrible. And are just bad all the way around. And that Mr. Box Up, he made a ton of them. He then goes on to do Days of Our Lives for 7 episodes as Warden Floyd Smith, again another cop, Warden Floyd Smith for 7 episodes. He plays a policeman in Backy, as well as additional cast, Spectator, policeman for 14 episodes, BAKI. That's the probably most steady thing that you've seen him in. He does a lot of voice acting work. A lot of the time, he's the voice of, actually the most steady thing he was the voice in Tiger and Bunny. He played Fire Emblem, Nathan Seymour for 37 episodes, Spidey and His Amazing Friends. He plays Mr. Von Carnegie and a pedestrian for 20 episodes. The most recent thing you can hear him in is Bleach Rebirth of Souls, the video game, where he plays Gantenbane Mosqueda. How about that? That's John Eric Bentley playing Agent Sipes. And Agent Sipes comes in trying to get some information from Sam that she has on the cartel.
I'm Special Agent Sipes.
Hi, I'm Sam Marquez.
Mr. Jalan says you have some information that may be of interest to us.
Anyway, we move on back to a better plot line where we see Mike is looking over, doing recon on Angie again, doing more research. Danny comes in and spots him this time and has a few things to say to him about the whole thing. He's got surveillance footage. He did a background check. And it relates to where he's got pictures printed out from the surveillance footage. And Danny says,
You know, there's a name for guys like you, Mikey.
Thorough?
Stalker. Dude, if this girl really is the one, you don't have to do any of this stuff. Just relax, be yourself, have fun.
Danny's right. Danny is 1,000% right. Mike, you've got the date. You've got it. You've got the date. You don't need to do any. Now, mind you, a background check, I'm not going to lie. If you're in surveillance and security and you get the chance to do a background check, and we've heard talk of Ed doing that to the guys that would date his daughters, an idea of who they, find out who they are, running a little background check. The idea of doing that, depending on what you're looking for, if you're looking for criminal record, like you just run a background check, see if they got a criminal record and see if they don't, or, tickets or whatever, like that you could pass. Right? The rest of the stuff, you don't need to do that. The rest of the stuff, especially, so the trick to the rest of the stuff is in the conversation. You find out the stuff in the conversation, right? And you find out the stuff that you want to know about her in conversation. You already got the Cup of Joe, right? The Cup of Joe coffee date allows you to figure out other stuff for a more prominent date, You know what I mean? You can find out what her favorite color is. You can find out what her favorite food is, or favorite kinds of foods, right? And you can narrow it down to a place, you know, what's your pick out food? Oh, I like Thai. Thai's my favorite, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so you have a couple, we got Thai places here, Thai place here. Oh, this is really good, intimate Thai place. I could just have that in the back of your head and be like, hey, listen, I know this restaurant. We can go get some, I don't know, there's Chinese food. We can go get some mushu, pork, or whatever, right? And you know it in your head, right? Or I like Italian. Angelo's, or you have it in your head, right? You you ask questions, you find out the information, and then you plan from there as you're going off and figuring out what the next steps will be. To do research like this is a tad overboard, Mike. This is where Mike loses a little bit of cool points, but he continues to watch Angie, but he is ridiculously smitten with her a little bit too much. Maybe. Anyway, we go back to this freaking plot. I hate this plot. I'm at the point now where I hate this plot. I hate coming back to this plot line. This plot line sucks. And it takes up so much of the episode. It is so much of the episode. Ugh, I hate it. Anyway, they're in Ed's office, the three of them, and they're trying to figure out if Sam is going to go undercover in the Juarez cartel or to the Juarez cartel to try to get some more information that they have. Ed says it's not going to happen. Sam says she's going to do it. Ed says, fine, I can't convince you not to, but then I'm going to go with you. And Agent Sipes says you can't, that's against FBI policy, and Ed picks up the phone.
Get me Bob Mueller, please.
Mr. Deline, I am very aware of your background. You don't need to call my boss.
Where do we start?
Ed's been doing a lot more swinging around of his muscle lately. We saw that with him trying to find out where Jack Keller was as well. So we come back to Mike seeing Angie, and Angie's trying to go into the spa, but they're super booked up. And so Mike thinks he's going to swoop in and save the day. Now, again, remember, Mike already has the date. He's got Cup of Joe's. He's got the date. He should be focusing on doing the date. But he's going to come in and try to be Superman here. As he does, we hear production music in the background here. Almost sounds like a recorder or something like that. The wind instrument, the recorder, not a video or audio recorder. And we whoosh down and we see Angie trying to get into the Royal Retreat spa treatment, but is unable to. Mike swaggers in and acts like he's just coincidentally there. And Angie's a little bit like, yeah, of course you're here. But Mike ends up setting up an appointment for the two of them. And the exchange that Mike has with the receptionist almost seems like he's set this up. It almost seems like, which had to have been beforehand, because Angie's been standing there the whole time talking to the receptionist. And it's not like we don't see any phone call exchange or anything like that. But it's almost like Mike ran a play that he already had set up with her for dates, which, sometimes happens. You know what I mean? Like, I've taken dates to one of my local bars before, and, the bartender, knows I'm usually the drink I usually get. If you work at a place long enough, you can kind of see the moves that people pull off. Whether you're a part of it or not, whether you're just watching, you can kind of see how people move and how they act. I've taken dates to some of the same places in my previous dating days, and some of the same moves happened, and pick up on them. So I don't know if that's what it was, but it almost seemed like it was sort of planned ahead of time though. So, but Mike sets up the appointment and charges it to his bill, which I'm sure will be free anyway. And we hear that the mud bath is communal.
Oh, very generous.
Mr. Cannon is incredibly giving.
I'll do what I can.
Thank you.
Our mud bath area is communal. Is that a problem?
No. I guess not.
So that's automatically the setup for the two of them, I guess, seeing how they connect. Sam and Alex are back in his room, and Sam is trying to set up a meeting with Mendoza, the head of the cartel. We hear that his name is...
Mendoza. Who's Mendoza?
The guy you want to meet, El Carnicero Loco.
The crazy butcher.
Just got into town.
Okay, so this guy's crazy? Is that what you're telling me?
Only when he's upset. Please don't upset him.
Have another one.
I like that little scene. That's one thing that the Sam story probably could have used, is more scenes like that, more calming scenes, more scenes where Sam is more like herself. You know what I mean? Like more scenes where you connect with her and or Alex. You don't really connect with Alex in this episode, right? Like you don't even the scene where he is telling Sam not to call the FBI and trying to cut her in. Like you don't necessarily like, this scumbag in the scene. Like it's this weird, like nebulous, almost none of his characters touch that emotional ground. It's almost hovering. Whether it's the guy in the beginning where it's like, he got a vending machine company. Okay, he's a low bidder, but now he's betting more. Or, he's really working for the cartel. You're not like, that bastard. Like, he's just kind of hovering in this almost nebulous, like, not quite zone. Anyway, we cut to the mud bath, and Mike and Angie are in the mud bath, and she's saying that she owes Mike an apology.
You're a nice guy. And we have a lot in common. And you're really cute.
You know, I feel the same about you. Except I describe you as ravishing, mesmerizing.
Oh, they're holding hands. Look at that. That is sweet. And you know what? Like looking at them, I like them as a couple. Right? Looking at them, I like them as a couple. First off, I think honestly, looking at the two of them, they would have like ridiculously good-looking kids. Like stupidly good-looking kids. That would be ridiculously smart. they would probably have kids that would take over or save or blow up the world. One or the other. Like it's not used between, people that good looking and that's incredibly genius. There's no two ways about it. They would either take over the world or destroy it, or have to be stopped before they do. But yeah, this is their cute scene. They're holding hands. And then Danny comes in and interrupts the festivities because, again, this seems to be the theme with Mike and this girl is that he gets interrupted almost every incarnation. Danny introduces himself to introduces himself to Angie, and she accepts it, and Mike pulls Mike up out of the mud. By the way, that shot of Mike being pulled out of the mud, I know James LeJour. Now, mind you, we already talked about it. James LeJour seems to be an athlete. We saw that one scene in, I think it was Have You Ever Seen the Rain, where he's running through the trailer lot. There's another scene, too, where he's running. There's a couple scenes where he's running. And you could see the stride that he's got. James LeJour is an athlete. He's an athlete, and he looks like an athlete in this shot. And I know he was doing crunches in between shots. I know he was off in the sidelines doing crunches, doing obliques, doing Russian twists off to the side to shoot this scene. I know he was, because he looks, he's like, all right, I'm going to do the scene with my underwear, come out of the mud, I'm going to make that, he made it look good. James. Good. I know you were doing the pre-work. You probably had the bands over there too. I know he was. You ain't fooling nobody, James. I know you were. But by the way, production song there is another Asian spa type inspired production song. But apparently Danny said that they found Lucas and they're off to find the horse Lucas. So it's Danny, Mike, Delinda, and Cody off to the ranch where the micro tracker was on there, and they said that they found Lucas. Now this is we'll figure out this part a little bit later too. There's another couple things that don't quite work here, but we see Lucas off in the background, and Lucas takes off Cody hops onto a horse and chases after him, and Delinda's like, go after them. Go after and chase them, but they're on horses. Mike and Danny are not horses, and as much of an athlete as LeJour is, they are not going to be able to catch up with a horse, depending on how fast they're going. Like, you're really not. But we see the chase here as Cody chases after Lucas. As we do, we hear the song Ride 'em Cowboy by Orchestra Helmuth Brandenburg, parentheses, from the album Gran Turismo. So the song is Ride 'em, not them, which is apostrophe E-M, Cowboy, by Orchestra Helmuth, Helmuth, Brandenburg, Brandenburg, from the album Gran Turismo, Tourismo, is the song, and it's on All Incarnations. They chase the horse down. Mike ends up grabbing her and grabbing the rider, and it turns out to be Lucy, Cody's manager.
Lucy.
Now, here's part of why this doesn't work. Lucy should know that Lucas had a microchip tracker in his ear. So, of course, they were going to find Lucas. They were always going to find Lucas. And she didn't take it out. She should have known it was always there. But we'll pretend like she didn't. So she says that she snapped.
I don't know, I'm used to all the groupies, but I've never seen you look at a woman the way you looked at her, and I guess that I always hoped that if I ever saw that look in your eye that you'd be looking at me.
You crazy.
Yeah, you're crazy.
Yeah, a little bit. She is a little crazy. Mike ends up calling Metro and holding her from walking away, but then almost immediately lets her go just to lean up against the post with some straw in his mouth. What's to stop her from trying to get away now? She was about to walk away 5 seconds ago. Why did Mike let her go if they're trying to hold her for Metro? The whole point is to make sure she doesn't go anywhere. Somebody's got to, what? Otherwise, she could take off. What? Anyway, Cody is over at Lucas, and he is basically baby talking the horse. And this is a big ick for Delinda. Actually, it's a big ick for everybody.
I'm sorry I let you go. I will never let you go again. No, I won't. No, I won't. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere.
Seems a little too into his horse, if you ask me.
No kidding.
Yes, that's how I like it. Just like that. Just like that.
But, I guess it would be like a pet, right? But that's it for Delinda and Cody's whirlwind romance. And she walks off with Danny. And I guess maybe Mike is just standing there over Lucy to make sure that she doesn't go anywhere, as opposed to particularly holding her. But that's weird. And we come back to this silly-ass storyline. And Sam is getting mic'd up to go into the Juarez cartel. And they're going over what to do if Sam gets into trouble.
Now, we'll be listening the entire time. So if we decide that she's in any kind of trouble...
No, if I decide she's in any kind of trouble.
If she's in trouble, I'll get her out of there.
No, we'll get her out.
Sam asks about the Juarez cartel, what kind of situation she's getting herself into. Ed just happens to have crime scene footage of what the Juarez cartel did to a bunch of people that are just gunned down all over the place. In this particular room, and Sam has to look away from the scene. A scene that she's seen before, by the way. Remember, Richard Allen Wesley did that to Gertie, and that's what she walked into when she was 17. So we whoosh over to what I guess is supposed to be a Las Vegas stretch of road, but that's really LA. That's a Southern California stretch of road. I can kind of tell that looks like Southern California. But so Sam is driving with Alex in a convertible, and they are immediately corralled by a group of SUVs that we are to assume are in fact the Juarez cartel. And as they eventually pull them over, we see that they take away the keys to the car and shuttle Sam into the SUV, leaving Alex to just kind of sit there and marinate on the situation he's in. So Mike is swaggering into surveillance after his mud date with Angie and catching the bad guy at the horse ranch. He is feeling pretty good. So Mike and Danny exchange barbs about Danny interrupting the date and Mike watching Danny get knocked over by a horse. And Danny comes in with...
Yeah, I thought that we agreed that you were done with all that stuff.
He's right here. They've got a date a little bit later in the gardens, and they're going to enjoy it. But Mike has to give up the crutch of the surveillance stuff. And he should, including the disc, all of it. And Danny even gets it from Mike's pocket and says to get rid of the footage on the screen, too.
You'll thank me later, buddy.
All right.
Remember that line. Remember you'll thank me later. So Danny has the stuff right now, and he's going to toss it. Interesting. Anyway, as we move on to seeing Sam enter the Mendoza compound, we are met with another musical cue. On the original, the song is Toma, T-O-M-A by Pitbull. If you're watching on DVD, the song is Loco en el Barrio by St. John. And if you're watching on streaming, the song is Fantastic by Olivier Bibbeau. That's Olivier Bibbeau. So different songs on all different incarnations. Sam is taken in to see the butcher at his pool. Now we see the overcast day. We see the water over by the pool, but it's more than just as the normal water would be on the pool. It's almost like it had drizzled before, but it hasn't dried yet, or it rained before, but it hadn't dried yet. But the butcher is in the pool anyway, and he is going to talk over business with Sam, but he wants her to join her in the pool, or wants her to join him in the pool. And she, says, no, I'm sorry. She doesn't necessarily feel like it. Butcher tries to get one of his girls to get Sam a bikini that she could wear, and we zoom out to Express Delivery where the FBI are waiting, as well as Ed as he's listening in on the conversation. They're starting to talk a little bit of business, but before they talk too much business, the butcher is still insistent on Sam coming into the pool. And as he's talking about that, or before we get there, when Sam comes into the pool, she impresses Butcher when she says,
If your compadre touches me again, I'm out. I'll take his cojones with me.
But she's definitely impressed him, but Ed knows that something's wrong here. He says, why is he having a pool party? It's about to rain. It looks like it's already started to rain. We come back to the lot, and Ed is already hip to what exactly is going on. Nobody else is. As we cut back to the butcher, they made sure to have this one shot of this one girl's testicular fortitudes right over his shoulder in full frame. Like, remember, this is Las Vegas. There's sexiness all over the place, including here in that one shot that's still supposed to be filled with tension. He again pushes for Sam to come into the pool, and he tries to apply it as mixing business with pleasure, but then he speaks Spanish to one of his guys, and I was able to interpret a little bit of it. He said, I don't like this, and something about clean, like it sounded something along the lines if he wanted the interaction to be a little bit more clean, and Ed tips it too. Like, nobody else in the booth that's listening can speak Spanish, and they don't hear this stuff, but Ed decides he's going to go in immediately. The FBI see that, and they're about to go in too, because things are getting a little bit too tense, because Sam is not in that pool. And the reason Sam isn't in the pool is because she's wired, and they know that. So now we see a shootout, and the first person to turn around with a gray wig, it's the worst wig I've ever seen. But yeah, so the bullets are flying. Ed is coming in, he punches one of the Juarez cartel's guys, and gets Sam out of there immediately, and the FBI come in and save the day. Hold on a second. Let's get a new deck in here, and we'll be right back. If you're ready to find your fitness family focused on being knowledgeable, being open-hearted, getting results, and having an elevated experience, then you're ready for KORE. That's Core Nutrition Fitness. The NASM certified personal trainers at Core cater to all fitness levels, ages, and body types. Whether it's the Gluteus Maximus and Queen Camp classes for the ladies, or the Minute Monday weight training for everyone. If you're in the Los Angeles area and ready to build better health and great friendships, the Core Fitness family is the place for you. Go to CoreNutritionFitness.com now for details. That's KORE NutritionFitness.com. As we come in to see the scene in the garden where Mike is having his date with Angie. As we do, we hear the musical cue of String Quartet number 63 in D minor, Op 64 number 5, The Lark, either 2 or IL, Adagio, Adagio, Cantabile, Cantabile, by Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. I think we've heard this before early on in the episode. I think this is the classical music suite that they decide to use and all this stuff, and it must be easily licensed or not licensable at all, and that's why they're able to use it, because no one owns the rights to it. In any event, it is on All Incarnations, and Mike is on his date with Angie, and it is going so well. There are roses. They got the string quartet playing behind them as they come in, and they've already eaten dessert. You can see the cake and the coffee there, and she is infatuated with Mike. And she asks Mike if you want to get out of here, and Mike brings her to surveillance like an idiot. Mike, if a woman asks, do you want to get out of here? You say, yes. You don't take her to your office. Do you want to get out of here is not, let's go to your office. Do you want to get out of here? Maybe, since you're in security at the Montecito, almost the head, the VP of security of the Montecito, get a room. Get a room. Or go to her room. Or go, she's got a room. Go to her room. Do you want to get out of here? Is let's go to my place or your place. So either take her to your place or take her to her room, which is closer. It's right there. It's closer. There's no need to take her to see where you work. None. You've already got her. The deal is closed. You've already got her. And we'll see this here in a second as she sees that the conference room is empty and invites Mike into the conference room because the door can lock. And by the way, there are other people in surveillance that see them go in there. We know what's happening. And Mike closes the blinds. By the way, not the blinds to the interrogation room that are behind her. And she immediately jumps Mike's bones. And I get it, because Mike is arguably Mike is the coolest guy in Vegas. I would say Mike is the sexiest man in all the sexiest land. At this point, he is. At this point, Michael J. Cannon is the sexiest man in all Sexyville that has ever sexied ever sexy. He is. Why? Because he's got Angie.
Angie, there are people right outside that door.
Oh. And he's kissing her neck, and they're moaning, and she looks over, and she sees her name on a disc. Apparently, Danny threw away the recon stuff in the small trash bin in the conference room. Mind you, when you come into surveillance, that little area in the corner, there is a trash can right there. A bigger trash can right there. This little small clear wastebasket in the conference room was not in Danny's trajectory. Danny had to go out of his way to drop it off there to go someplace else. So Danny it's just stupid. It's just falling apart. So then here, Mike could say, I thought about that. Immediately I was like, well, if that was the situation, what was the first thing I would say? I would say, oh, that was a mixed CD I tried to make for you that didn't burn properly. Hey, guess what? That's a believable lie. You know why? Because, I don't know, kids, if you remember this, burning CDs wasn't the clean function that you thought it was, right? Sometimes you would burn a CD and it would be, you would have no reason why, and it would be corrupted. Either the files would be corrupted that you didn't know about, or the files would be fine, but somewhere in the burning process, it just didn't work out. Somewhere when it burned, it didn't work out. Either there was a glitch in your computer burning it, maybe the driver was wrong, maybe the CD was wrong, maybe the CD, had a malfunction in it, or maybe there was no excuse whatsoever and just the process glitched out while you were burning a CD. Very possible. Now, mind you, looking at that CD that CD kind of looks like a DVD, but you could maybe get away with saying, "Hey, I was going to try to burn a love song mix for you, and it just didn't work out." Right? The love song mix for you, and the burn didn't work properly, or the songs didn't work properly. Like the songs didn't work out. That would be the first thing I would say. But Mike is humming and hawing here as he sees this, and she immediately asks, "Why is her name on the disc?" And then looks down and sees more stuff about her, including the dossier and the folder. Now, here's the other part of this. Here's another part of this. This is some personal information here on this thing, and you're just gonna toss it in the wastebasket of the conference room folder? Doesn't the Montecito deal with confidential information or private information? Maybe not super confidential, but private information all the time. How do they get rid of that? Do they not have a shredder somewhere? Shouldn't Danny have taken that if he had to go out of his way to get rid of this? Shouldn't he have put it in the shredder? Shouldn't he have put the file at least in the, even not the CD? Because CD shredders were a lot rarer, or super rare. Like, you can find them. There are definitely shredders that can shred a CD. And even in 2004 there are. Maybe they had them, maybe they didn't. I don't think they probably did. Maybe they did, but they probably didn't. Actually, they might have, because some of that stuff probably does have some confidential information on it. Some of the discs that they have floating around might have some confidential information on it. So maybe they did. But let's just say they didn't. At least the file. You take that to the shredder, or you put it in the box for the shredder. Maybe they have a box first. Maybe they don't have a full shredder there. They have a shredding company that shreds the stuff for them. Put it in the shredding box. Why would you put that? Just terrible. Anyway, Angie sees this and is immediately not impressed.
You spied on me.
No, I wouldn't call it spying. No, I'd call it research. In fact, you remember Danny, the guy from the Mudbats? That's exactly what I said to him. I said, "Danny, this is research."
You spied on me. That is so twisted.
Maybe in hindsight.
Not in hindsight, Mike. Not in hindsight. Danny was telling you this in real time. It's not in hindsight. Danny was telling you this in real time. It's in hindsight only because you got caught doing it. Danny was telling you this in real time. It was a bad idea. It was a bad idea. Mike cops to it and says that, yeah, he's sorry. He was just trying to, impress her and wants to focus on the future.
Oh, there's no future of yours with me in it.
She says there's no future with me in it, and she walks away. So the look on her face looks like she was deeply hurt, actually, by Mike and what he did. And this is the beginning of the arc of Mike. And I've seen this before in other TV shows. I can't exactly picture a whole bunch of other the other exact TV shows that do this. But there's one in particular that comes to mind when I think of this. And I thought about this when I saw it happen in that TV show too later on. This was the first show where I saw this trope. And I don't even know if it's a full trope yet, but it's something that I noticed. Psych does the same thing, where the best friend of the lead super good-looking, charismatic character has a run of bad luck with women. And he tries too hard with them and ends up the loser in the situation almost every time. Like 99%, actually most of the time. As a matter of fact, every time. Every time until the end. He ends up just super hard. He becomes Pepe Le Pew. he chases women so hard, and he ends up losing them in the end. And they did that with Gus. There are parallels here in Mike and Gus. Both played by actors who are accomplished by the time they get to this role. The black guy on the show, best friend to the charismatic, good-looking white guy on the show. Both in amazing shape. Both probably more talented than the show or the role that they're on. And both probably in real life lady killers. I've thought this for a while, especially because it became just a ridiculous joke of a trope with Gus on Psych, played by Dule Hill, where he every time where they basically talked about how Gus was sad in his pursuit of women on the show, and it's like I bet you they did that because in real life Dule was slaying him. I bet you they did that because Dule Hill was married while he was on Psych for a while and then got divorced. I bet you, and I think that arc didn't really start until he got divorced. I bet you he was slaying. I bet you some writers or Dule or somebody, or not Dule, or James Roday or somebody was like, damn, Dule, I bet you he was pulling in girl after girl after girl after girl after girl after girl. And they did that to him on the show. James LeJour, I'm not exactly sure about. Yeah, and a quick Google search, I can't find anything on a wife. So I'm wondering if James LeJour, if they started this because they're like, the cast or the crew were like, James LeJour is just slaying the women. Like, he's got like a roster. And they decided to do that. But there are a lot of parallels there. Like I see Mike Cannon as a Gus in that way. And both super smart too. Both of them very smart. Both of them have well-known black celebrities playing their relatives on the show. There are parallels between Mike Cannon and Gus Burton Guster. And this is probably the biggest parallel. Is the not just Unlucky in Love, but the almost Pepe Le Pew-like Unlucky in Love. And we'll see more of that in this season. For God's sake. In this season. I'm sad about that. Now, mind you, they do it well. Like, it's not like my thought process about the Mike Cannon love cycle isn't exactly the same as, and by the way, this is interesting. It's the similar parallel with Sam and her love cycle. Like, both start their love cycle arcs in the second season. But it's not the same as like my disdain for like Sam's story in this particular episode. Her story in this particular episode is poorly done. Shouldn't be in this episode. It's oblong. It doesn't fit. This fits in with the show. I just think that they give. I'm wondering what the reasoning is behind it, because I think they're not giving Mike enough credit here. Mike is a good look. James LeJour is a good looking man. Look at him. He's an athlete. He played in the NBA Entertainment League. He is an athlete. He is a good-looking man. Mike Cannon is smart. He's charming. But they're not. They're going to play wildly against that, I think, just for a comedic effect. It's almost like, okay, if you want me to believe that, I don't know if I truly believe that, but all right, sure, I guess. But anyway, that's the story of Mike and Angie in this episode, and Mike is left with his head down in the conference room. So Mike and Danny talk it over. Mike says, what a tangled web we weave when purpose practice to deceive.
From now on, I'm going to be completely honest with every woman I meet.
That's a big first step, Mikey, but you might not always want to be completely honest.
Exactly. Yes, that's also true. Danny on the relationship front in this episode has been as on point fairly for the most part as Mike has been on the crime front in most of the episodes that he's been in. So the balance is shifting a little bit back and forth here between the two of them. You see the dynamic here, and Danny points out a girl. He says,
Looking at you.
So looking at me?
No, sorry, dude. She's looking
at you.
Of course she is, because the balance has to be shifted back to where it belongs. Once again, the writers are telling us, as we all know, that Daniel Eduardo McCoy is the sexiest man of all the sexiest men of all the men in the sexiest land of all the lands of all time. that's Danny McCoy. And not Mike Cannon. So Mike has to live with it, and we see Sam in Ed's office going over the details, the remnants of her interactions with the Juarez cartel. Ed tells Sam how proud he is of her, and you see Sam start tearing up again. This scene, the whole thing here, we'll just go over the details so I can finish this up. Sam starts to well up and says,
You don't think I'd ever do anything to hurt you, right?
Of course not.
And then we see Sam's face translate into the picture that Ed then gives to somebody that's sitting in the cafe. Now, obviously that picture couldn't have been real. Otherwise, Ed would have taken her picture right then and there. And I don't think there are any cameras at that angle to take that picture. But sure, it's a cool transition shot. And we see Ed giving Sam's picture to what we find out is a private eye. And that private eye is going to follow Sam. She asks,
So, you want me to follow her?
Yes.
So that starts the other arc of Ed and Sam's trust issues with each other, which are out of nowhere and don't mean any, something really fairly useless. They come to fruition at the end of the season, but not even really. I think they're trying to revamp the whole Sam and trust issue things, but we've moved past that. We've way moved past that in this show. We've super moved past that already, but I guess that's where we are right now. I can see why this episode has 2 out of 5 on LasVegas-series.com, especially if you're a Sam fan. This is not a good Sam episode. This is not a good Vanessa episode. This is not a good Ed episode. This is not a good James episode. This is not a good episode for them as characters or actors. It is not. Sam is acting like Vanessa is acting like Sam's on drugs. Ed is acting like he's on drugs. It's a super weird. Super weird. I'm going to try to, I hate it. I hate that section of this episode. I hate it. This is the first, I didn't think I'd get to episodes where I disliked this much about the episode this early. I thought that would be roundabout season 4. And those of you who know season 4 know why. I thought that would be roundabout season 4. I thought I'd have time to gear up. We'd have some, better episodes that are better than others. Some episodes that are great. We're going to get to an episode that's great next week. But I thought we'd get some episodes that's some better than others. Like this one. I really like this one. I don't like this one this much, but this is good too. We're already here. Episode 11 of season 2 on an episode where a good chunk of it is just trash. A good chunk of it is just useless tripe. Oh, it's just garbage. It's just not well done. It's not. And again, I think it comes down to they had this story. There's a lot of this story that was written or have this idea, and maybe there's a good idea in there somewhere, especially if it's supposed to lead to somewhere between Sam and Ed later on in the series or in the season. But if they're going to, with this episode, with the subject matter, with how they're going to do it, they needed more time. We needed more build up to that fight at the beginning, because that fight at the beginning came out of absolutely nowhere. It didn't make any sense. And so there's that sense of it not making sense permeates through that entire story arc with Sam and Ed in this entire episode. It's just it needed, if they were going to do that, it needed to be its own episode, or maybe have a super small B plot, either, and probably the Cody Barnes Delinda thing, because that's a small enough B plot that doesn't take up enough time. That doesn't take up a lot of time. You could do the Mike and Angie thing later. You could do that thing in another episode. You could do that in next episode if you wanted to. Actually, no. The next episode has a couple of things. You could do that in episode 13 if you wanted to. It needed more space to grow. The Mike and Angie story was great. It had the perfect amount of space, perfect amount of time. It worked. That was good. You put that in with another A plot that has a similar time frame with it, and it can all flow great and be a fantastic episode. But this had these three. So you have 44 minutes, and it felt like they had 55 minutes of story. And that was the problem. They decided to eliminate some of the elements or the timing or rush some of the stuff from the story that needed the most time. If anything, you give that Sam story the entire 44 minutes to flesh it out and figure it out. But they didn't, and that's why this sucks. That's why this episode on Las Vegas Assassin series has 2 out of 5. Because Sam is acting wildly out of character, and you don't understand why. There's no explanation for it. There's no lead up to it. There's nothing to make that where she acts in. That is her acting in her character. There's no anything from the past that comes up or anything. It just comes out of nowhere. There's nothing that allows Ed to act like that because he's acting out of character too. There's none of that works. And again, I talked about Alex Brooks. Nothing necessarily against the actor, but again, he's sort of floating in this nebulous land where you don't really feel anything towards him, good, bad, or indifferent. He's just kind of there. Mendoza could have been a fun character to explore. They didn't have time. Want on this episode. So Las Vegas. So the aggregate is somewhere 7 or an F. It's 5.4. I don't know that I'd give it that. So shifting back over to the other elements, the Cody Barnes story is, filler. It's whatever. It's semi nothing. It's, that's a space filler when you have 5 extra minutes in a show. I don't like it or hate it or anything. Like the Cody Barnes character seemed a little too all shucksish. Like I didn't understand why Delinda particularly liked him, but okay. We can move past that because again, we're talking about like a minute amount of the show. So fine, go do that. It allows us to see Molly Sims in the episode. Great, go play Molly. Mike and Angie stuff I thought worked really well. I thought I would have liked to see Angie end up with Mike because I think that they could have made a good couple, but the show's got a show. And we go back to the issue with Derry where they split them up because you have these hot young people and you want them to get together with other hot young people. Here's the other part of that. When I talked about the similarities between Mike Cannon and Gus on Psych, the hot young people don't end up, the hot young Pepe Le Pew guys, they don't end up getting with the girls that they're hot over. That's the problem. Most of the time they don't end up getting, 99% of the time they don't end up getting them. That's Danny's role. That's the hot young star's role. That's the lead sexy man on the show's role. He gets all the girls. You're Jerry Lewis of the Dean Martin pairing. You're funny, but you don't get the girl. Dean Martin gets the girl. Josh Duhamel gets the girl. James Rose Day gets the girl. Dule doesn't get the girl. You're Jerry. James Lejour doesn't get the girl. You're Jerry Lewis. You say Flavin and you go off and speak technobabble. I wish better for Mike. We will see better for Mike in this season, later in the season though. So he does get some redemption. How long that redemption lasts that's a whole nother section of that, and we'll get to that when we get to that. But I do like this episode for Mike. I do like James. It feels good for James to be in that kind of. It shows off that James could have and maybe still can. They're making rom-coms with people who aren't 25 nowadays. James Lejour could play the lead in a rom-com. He's got the chops. We just saw it here. He's got the chops to play the lead in a rom-com. 20 years ago, he had the chops to play the lead in a rom-com. He played, and I'm not just talking about For Your Love, the show. I'm talking about a rom-com movie. But that whole Sam thing takes up so much of the episode. I can understand why it's not favored very highly. And it's not favored very highly for me. So, on the strength, my rating for this episode is only this high because of James Lejour in this particular episode on the back of coolest man in Las Vegas, Mike Cannon, solely on his back. This episode gets a 6 out of 10 for me. Solely on his back. I mean entirely on the straight, and it really shouldn't be that high, because his section wasn't as, like, the Mike Cannon sections wasn't, if I added it up, it probably wasn't as long as the Sam sections. But it's solely on his back. Gets a 6 out of 10 from me. But that's my rating. My rating doesn't count. Yours does. So I need to hear what you think about this in whatever comment section you are listening and or watching this on, because you are important here. And if you want to help support the show if you're not monetarily inclined to do so, that's fine. Not all of us are monetarily inclined to do stuff like that. I get it. The most important way to do that is to share, though. Share the podcast. Share it with as many people as possible. Share it with cast members, crew members, if you can. Tweet it at them, Instagram it. Tag us and stuff. Tag the Podecito and stuff. The Podecito is on all socials, most socials media. We're on the good ones, on the big good ones, good subject, on the bigger ones. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, what are the other ones? Whatever the other ones are on the tree, we're there. So tag us on the stuff that are mentioned in with other cast members as they're doing stuff. I know Josh has got his show on right now on Netflix. Marsha had her show that just recently came out. I know Vanessa's doing tour, still on tour right now with Rena. So tag us in Molly, and Molly is living the Molly really is living the Delinda life. Like, if you see her Instagram or social media, she really is living Delinda. Like, she really is living Delinda's life right now. But yeah, tag us and all that stuff, and that'll help. If you are monetarily inclined, that's fantastic as well. Again, I urge you to go to the Patreon route as the best way to get stuff, as well as bonus material, which will be coming out sooner than you think. Early episodes, if we get to the point where we can get early episodes, help support the show the best way you can, and that'll help us get more assistance in here to get along the way. We've got that going. We're just starting to get some stuff going that way. That's the best way to help as well. Next episode we are looking at is episode 12. Episode 12 is When You Gotta Go, You Gotta Go. And I will tell you that this episode, just offhand, this episode is one of my favorite in the entire series. So I cannot wait to dive into this episode. This is one of the better ones. This is one of the better ones of the season and the series, according to me. So I can't wait to get into that one. That's next week. In the meantime, the in-between time, thank you for joining me on this episode as we reviewed My Beautiful Launderette, for whatever that episode was. I will see you next week. And in the meantime, the in-between time, please remember that if your dates ask you if you want to get out of here, just say yes. Don't do anything else. Just do it because you're in. Oh, also, please, take care.